Good morning to all. Today will be the last class for the chapter Change in Profit Sharing Ratio. Listen to the video carefully and keep a pen and pencil paper ready with you so that to write the important points and practice alongside watching the video. Today we'll cover the topic of revaluation of assets and liabilities. Whenever there is a change in profit sharing ratio among the existing partners, then the assets and liabilities of the business are revalued, rechecked. Their value is ascertained again. This is because any change in the assets and liabilities, for example, if the asset when bought earlier was of 2 lakh and now its present value has increased to rupees 3 lakh, after which the partners of the business decided to change their profit sharing ratio. So on this increase in the value of the asset that happened before the change in profit sharing ratio, such benefit should be enjoyed by the old partners in old profit sharing ratio only, since at that time no change in the ratio happened. So whenever there is a change in profit sharing ratio, all the assets and liabilities are revalued, reassessed, so that if there is any profit or loss on revaluation, it must be shared by old partners in old profit sharing ratio. There are two methods for revaluation of assets and liabilities. First, when the revised values are to be recorded in the books. Second, when the revised values are not to be recorded in the books. Let's start with the first case, when revised values are to be recorded in the books of account. In this case, we prepare a new account, revaluation account, also known as profit and loss adjustment account, so as to revalue the assets and liabilities. Revaluation account is a nominal account. I hope you remember your basics of class 11th. What was the rule for nominal account? All the losses are debited and all the gains and income are credited. Let's discuss the specimen or performer of the revaluation account. It is just another ledger account where the left hand side is debit and right hand side is credit. Like we said, all the incomes and gains will be credited in the revaluation account since it is a nominal account. So we can say that credit side is the happy side and all the expenses and losses will be debited in the revaluation account. Hence, it is a sad side of the account. Now, remember the agenda of preparing revaluation account. We want to reassess, revalue the assets and liabilities of the business. For example, if there is an increase in the value of your asset, will you be happy or sad? Obviously happy. So, any increase in the asset will be credited. If your liabilities decrease, for example, earlier you had to pay rupees 10,000 to the creditor. Now you only have to pay rupees 8,000 to the creditor. So such decrease in the liability will make you happy. Hence, such decrease will be credited in the account. If you find an unrecorded asset in the books of account, for example, you had an office equipment of rupees 10,000 but it was not recorded in the books of account. Now when you locate this unrecorded asset and revalue it will make you happy since your assets have increased. So unrecorded assets are credited in the revaluation account. Now let's discuss the debit side of this account that will make the partners sad. For example, if the value of your asset falls, it decreases, your assets decrease, then it will make you sad. Hence, it will be debited in the revaluation account. Similarly, if your liabilities increase, liability is a burden for the business. If it increases, it will be debited. If an unrecorded liability occur, you did not know about this liability earlier, but now you locate it, it will obviously make you sad, hence you will debit it. After recording all such debits and credit, the last step is to find out whether there was profit or loss on account of revaluation of these assets and liabilities. If the credit side or the happy side is more as compared to the debit side, then the balancing figure will come on the debit side as profit on revaluation, which will be transferred to partner's capital account. However, if the debit side, the sad side is higher than the credit side, then the balancing figure will be loss on revaluation that will appear on the credit side, which will be transferred to partner's capital account. Now, like we discussed earlier, such revaluation of assets and liabilities is done to find out the profit or loss on revaluation to be distributed among the old partners and old ratios, since after that the profit sharing ratio will change. So this profit or loss on revaluation will be distributed among the old partners in old ratio. Let's solve a question to have a better understanding of this concept. Following is the balance sheet of A and B who share profits in the ratio 3:1. So 3:1 is the old ratio, and who are the old partners? A and B. Balance sheet is given to us. Next, it is written from April 1, 2019, partners decided to share the profits and losses equally. So what is the new ratio now? 1:1. For this purpose, it was agreed that the value of the furniture is to be increased by rupees 6,000, and so on. Different adjustments are given about the revaluation of assets and liabilities. So the first step is to prepare the revaluation account format. Now let's get back to the question. The first adjustment was the value of the furniture is to be increased by rupees 6,000. In the balance sheet, the furniture was valued at 10,000. Now it has to be increased by 6,000. So what will be the present value of the furniture? 16,000. But in the revaluation account, the present value of any asset or liability is not recorded. We only record the increase or decrease in the value of assets and liability. So in this case, the furniture is increased by 6,000. An increase in the asset will make the firm happy, so increase will be recorded on the credit side. Hence, furniture account 6,000 is written on the credit side. The next adjustment says value of the land will be increased to rupees 1,50,000. In the balance sheet, the land was valued at 1 lakh. Now it will increase to rupees 1,50,000. So what is the increase in the land? Rupees 50,000. So this 50,000 will be credited in the revaluation account. You have to be careful while reading the adjustments, as the small English words like by or to can change the meaning of the sentence. Next adjustment says machinery is to be depreciated by 20%. Depreciation means fall in the value of the asset. In the balance sheet, machinery is given at rupees 30,000. Now we have to depreciate it by 20%. So 20% fall in the value will come out to be rupees 6,000. I hope all of you are calculating side by side also. Now this decrease in the asset will make the firm sad, so it will be debited. Machinery account debited 6,000. Next adjustment says a provision for doubtful debt at 5% is to be created on debtors. I hope you remember your basics of class 11. Provision is a charge against profit. You take out money from the profits to make provision. So obviously it will make the partner sad since you are charging money against the profit. So provision for doubtful debt will be debited in the revaluation account. Debtor were rupees 40,000 and the provision is created at 5%. So 5% of 40,000 is 2,000 rupees. Next adjustment says unrecorded investment worth rupees 10,000. This is a happy thing to find out. So in the revaluation account, unrecorded investment account will be credited rupees 10,000. Next adjustment says a creditor of rupees 1,000 is not likely to claim his money and is to be written off. This means that one creditor to whom you had to pay rupees 1,000 will not claim his money. That means you do not need to pay rupees 1,000 to the creditor now. So your creditors have decreased. Hence this will make you happy, and this decrease in the liability or creditor will be recorded on the credit side of revaluation account. So sundry creditors account on the credit side rupees 1,000. Next adjustment says stock is found undervalued by rupees 5,000. This means that whatever is the value of stock in the balance sheet, it is undervalued by 5,000. You have recorded it less by 5,000. So now what will you do? You will increase the value of stock by 5,000. So increase in this asset will be credited in the revaluation account. Stock account credit rupees 5,000. Next adjustment says office equipment is found overvalued to the extent of 20%. So whatever is the value of office equipment in the balance sheet, it is overvalued to the extent of 20%. So for example, if the office equipment is 100% in real, but in the balance sheet you have recorded how much? 120% of the actual value. So if 120% of the office equipment is 60,000, I hope you can find out the 20% overvaluation in it. So it comes out to be rupees 10,000. Now in the balance sheet, office equipment is overvalued. It is recorded more. So how will we correct it? By decreasing the value of office equipment by that overvaluation. So it will make the partner sad and it will be recorded on the debit side since the office equipment is now reduced by 10,000 so as to record its correct value in the books. The next adjustment says an unrecorded accrued income of rupees 1,000, outstanding salary of 3,000 be provided for. Now unrecorded accrued income is a asset for the business. So unrecorded accrued income will be recorded on the credit side as it is an increase in the asset of the business. And the unrecorded outstanding salary will be recorded on the debit side since outstanding salary is a liability for the business. So increase in liability will be debited. The next adjustment is important. Listen to it attentively. It says that claim on account of workman compensation amounted to rupees 20,000. This means that your liability on account of workman compensation is rupees 20,000. You owe them 20,000. Whenever you find an adjustment relating to workman compensation claim, the first step you need to do is to check whether or not there is any reserve in the balance sheet. So as we can see that there is a reserve for workman compensation of rupees 12,000 and our liability or the claim on workman compensation is 20,000. So 8,000 rupees excess claim is a loss for the business and it will be debited in the revaluation account. Hence, claim for workman compensation is debited in the revaluation account 8,000 since loss will make the business partners sad. Now when we have done all the adjustments, the last step is to balance the revaluation account and find out whether there is profit or loss. So when we balance or total the credit side, it comes out to be 73,000 and the debit side is less. So the balancing figure is profit on revaluation, which comes out to be 44,000 rupees. Like we discussed earlier, this profit will be divided among old partners in old ratio. The old ratio was 3:1 among A and B. So A will get 3/4 share of the profit and B will get 1/4 share of the profit, which comes out to be 33,000 and 11,000 respectively.